Right, so here it is. First up, we have performance genesis. Second, we have systematic reforgery. And third, we have conclusive rationale. Now, in order to further expand on this and make sure that you understand this framework properly, I have created a flowchart that you can see over here. If I just zoom out for a second, this is the flowchart in full, and this is basically the entire system that I have created for Rising Hyprland. This is my 3-step framework, and it's made me rices that can have theme switches like this one, where I can basically switch between a bunch of different themes, like custom-made themes along with wallpaper-based ones, right? Whichever ones that I want with the press of a button, along with a lot more performance tweaks like this toggle that has Power Profiles daemon, for example. That, and along with this Overwatch menu that gives me access to all these controls and my notifications. Not to mention, there is also a night mode which I have implemented with using this framework, and a performance mode, like so, where if I press Win F1, basically everything, just changes into performance mode or battery saver mode as I've configured it right now, as you can see with this power saver icon. But basically, yeah, this framework has helped me achieve all of these things, and I'm hoping it can for you too. So let's get into it. Just change that. Okay. Now, first up, we have performance genesis. In here, we have two parts, right? We have Arch Ascension and we have Hyprland Supremacy. So in Arch Ascension, we're basically going to be installing Arch Linux, except this is not the way that most people are going to be doing it. We're going to be doing this in a very different, unique way. Okay, now, if you have used Arch before, and then you have probably used the Arch install method of, installing Arch Linux. So there used to be two methods, right? One was installing Arch Linux manually. So one, you had the manual method, and then the second method was basically Arch install. Now, Arch install has been, extremely popular since like 2022 or 23. It's gotten good, right? It's gotten pretty good now to the point where you can use that to install your Arch Linux systems without having to manually deal with all the configuration that's required if you choose to manually install, which is great. But here's the thing, okay? So Arch install, during the installation process, like you set up your disks and everything and your network, all that, install additional packages, all that is fine. You get an option where you install a couple of different profiles, right? So in Arch install, we have the option for a bunch of different profiles. Okay, now these profiles, they actually give you a couple of different choices, right? So you have server, pretty sure this is not an exhaustive list, okay? But we have a couple. So we have one like server, where you install packages like Nginx, and then, what other server packages would be there? Nginx and PHP or something like that. Apache server, okay? That's all the stuff that we install on a server, and the kernel would probably be something like the normal kernel, normal Linux kernel. You don't have the LTS version or the Zen version or anything. The kernel is something that you pick on your own, but you get the drill, right? The server, and then another profile we might have is something like desktop. Okay, so where this is basically installing you a desktop environment so that you can get started without having to configure everything yourself. And finally, we have the minimal one. I'm pretty sure there's a couple more profiles apart from just server, desktop, and minimal, but these are the ones that, are worth talking about. The rest of the ones might be a little fringe. I haven't installed Arch in quite a while because I've been running the same install, but yeah. So in desktop, this is probably the one that you have picked before if you install something like GNOME, KDE, or XFCE, or basically any desktop environment. I recall that they are also offering window managers, right? Window managers and variant compositors. But if you pick desktop, you're going to, pretty much just get a desktop along with all the other applications and potentially, basically, bloat that they install onto your system. And that is something that we avoid when we are in Arch Ascension. So basically, we don't choose the desktop, profile that's in Arch install. We don't choose the server profile, but instead we choose the minimal one. Now, why do we actually go with minimal? Because when you're using this desktop profile, and let's say, I haven't checked, of course, but they might have added a Hyprland option. In there, they might have already installed Hyprland for you along with a bunch of different applications, a file manager, and then, a terminal, all that fun stuff. Great. But the thing is, they most likely also would have installed a bunch of packages that you're not going to use. So that means extra bloat on your system, which means that you're not going to get that same pristine, clean feeling that you do when you install everything yourself and, you've audited every single package that goes into your system, and it's basically not going to feel as clean in your mind. Which is why, in order to avoid that feeling and in order to get, a clean, pristine rice without having any of the overhead and bloat that you'd get in terms of the desktop profile, we choose the minimal one. So if we choose the minimal profile during Arch install, what's going to happen is that it's basically just going to give us a TTY on the next boot. So let's say we install all the required packages, right, the kernels, and then, we install a bootloader, everything, is basically installed for us by Arch install. All that's done. So the next time we log into our computer, it's just going to give us a blank TTY, and we have to work from there. That's honestly the best way to get started with, Arch. Just getting the bare minimum setup that you need in order to boot into a TTY setup so that you don't have to go through the entire process of, deleting everything from the desktop variant. So yeah, that's that. That's why we install the minimal profile of Arch install in Arch Ascension phase. Okay, then next up, we have Hyprland supremacy. Now, there's a reason why I put this here, okay? Now, the second part is basically installing Hyprland the right way. Yes, there is also a potentially incorrect way of installing Hyprland, and that mostly depends on what you're trying to do. Now, for 99% of people, if you install Hyprland through like the normal bin version, it's going to work, but you are most likely not part of the 99%, because if we're being honest, you're not over here watching a video about, me explaining this stuff with a whiteboard, all this intellectual stuff and all this smart people stuff. Yeah, you're one of us, right? You're basically an intellectual, which is why you're still here listening to me talk about Hyprland being superior. Anyway, yeah, what I meant was the way that we install Hyprland is different to what you would normally do. Now, if you were to install Hyprland the regular way, and if you just did it like so, like if you used Yay, for example, as your package manager, you'd probably look for something like Hyprland first, okay, and you would find this, okay, you'd find it here, and you'd probably install this. But the use case that I'm going to present to you right now is not going to involve this, and the reason is because of plugins. So I had this issue personally where if I used the main Hyprland package that's over here, and then I tried to install a bunch of plugins, it basically failed. And every single time I tried to install the plugins, it was not going to work. Now, that might just have been an issue on my part with getting the versions right for the different packages, but instead of you having to suffer with that headache for yourself, what you just have to do is basically just install the Git version of Hyprland. So if we type in Hyprland Git, pretty sure we should see, yeah, as you can see over here, we have Hyprland Git. So what you do is just yay-s hyprland-git, and then install the Git version of Hyprland, which is going to also get rid of the non-Git, Hyprland packages like Aquamarine and stuff. So if I just install this, yeah, Hyprland Git and Hyprland are in conflict. Do you want to remove this? So if I obviously, press Y, it's going to get rid of my environment. That's not what we want. But what this is going to do is it'll basically replace the, stable, what do you call it? Extra, yeah, right? From the extra repo, it's just going to replace all the other packages like dependencies of Hyprland with the Git versions, which is going to allow you to use Hyprland's plugins. And that's that. That is why we install Hyprland and get it through the Git version and not the normal one. Okay, now for the meat. Now for the fun stuff. We have systematic reforgery. And in here, we have, let's see how many steps we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 steps over here. So let's go through them all. The first step we have in systematic reforgery is environment personalization. Now, if you have installed Hyprland at this point and then you've logged in, what you're going to be seeing is basically a blank environment, right? You just have the Hyprland logo in the center, probably the anime girl wallpaper, and then you have nothing else. You're probably going to get this auto-generated equals 1 warning at the top that you're going to have to edit the config and remove. But apart from that, you have nothing else. No wallpaper, no, status bar to show you anything of what's going on. Okay, none of that. You basically have nothing. You're starting from scratch. Okay, so what we're doing in environment personalization is, first of all, picking a wallpaper, then picking the kind of status bar that we want to use, and then picking basically what we want from our setup, whether we want an environment to chill and then to study, or whether we want like a no distraction, just no BS environment where we can lock in and then not be distracted for like 8 hours at a time when we're just banging out code on the computer. We decide all that stuff and then we personalize our environment accordingly. So we decide the wallpaper again, as I mentioned, and all the other stuff. And then we configure it, okay? Then next up, we have status sorcery. Now in status sorcery, what we're going to do, as I mentioned earlier, is pick the status bar that we're going to use and then just customize that to our liking. Okay, so that, like in my case, is going to be waybar. Now for you, it might be different. It might be something like hyperpanel, or it might be something like EO. You might want to use EO as a bar. Like we have a couple of different bar, options available. Quickshell is also another one. Then we have AGS. Okay, and then we basically have a lot of options for the bar that we can use. That is what is happening in status source array. Okay, then we have alchemical colors and fonts. Now over here, okay, over here, what we're doing is basically configuring our colors, the colors of all the GTK apps and our waybar, along with any other apps that we might use, like for example, Rafi, and basically configuring themes such as like this one, where we can switch to whatever theme we want with the press of a button, and then have our system adapt completely accordingly. That's what we're doing with alchemical colors. Okay, and then with fonts, we're basically doing the same thing as with colors, except we're just going through the font settings and then making sure that we have, good font rendering settings, so that we can actually see stuff clearly and it's not, garbled and, doesn't suck looking at the text, basically. I also cover how to, do this stuff, like basically change the font to whichever one that you like and all that. Okay. Then next up, we have desktop dynamism. Here is the part where we turn Hyprland into a desktop environment, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, we have different components of a desktop environment, right? We have a lock screen, like this one over here. We have a lock screen, and then we have this Overwatch panel that I showed you earlier. Okay, we can also change the theme, by the way, and then look at the Overwatch panel, like so. How would that look? Something like this, right? As you can see, it adapts with the theme. And by the way, if you want to know how to make theme switches like this one and the Overwatch panel along with this lock screen and this logout menu, so if I can just, this logout menu and a whole lot more, then just click the first link in the description. I show you exactly how to do it. And you can get to where I am right now with this kind of setup without wasting a single second of your time. Just jumping from thing to thing, trying to find it, wasting months, weeks of your time. Trust me, your time is valuable. So don't waste it. Right? Just click the first link in the description. You can get a setup like this completely done, without having to look for everything yourself. Kind of like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack with good information these days. So just don't waste your time. Trust me, it's going to be the best investment that you'll have ever made. Like, I can say this with so much confidence that if your setup is not better and, doesn't look better and doesn't work faster than it currently is, I will gladly, give your money back. That's how confident I am. So just check it out. Okay. But yes. Okay. Getting back to where we were, we have different components and different parts of, desktop environment, like the logout menu that I showed you earlier, like the logout menu, like the lock screen, like the Overwatch menu, the action center, and so on and so forth, like the waybar as well. So here we basically configure all of that in this part of the framework. Okay, and then we have safe house systems. Of course, now that we've done all of this stuff and then we've created theme switchers and then we have added status bars and personalized an environment and done all this fun stuff, made our setup into a desktop environment, basically, we need to keep that safe. Of course, it's our creation. We might also want to, redistribute it so that we can get other people to use it and give us feedback and so that we can improve. Okay, and that is where safe house systems comes in this framework of mine. Okay, so in safe house systems, we're basically just going to create a system for managing all of our configuration, okay, all of this stuff, so that we can keep it safe and then we can redistribute it and basically give other people access to it so that they can improve on it and use it for their own fun and leisure. That's what we're doing with these systems. And then lastly, inside systematic reforgery, we have automation psychopathy. Now, this might sound like a little bit negative at first glance, but it's in fact anything but that. It's automation to the point where, an ordinary person, a normie, might just consider you a psychopath because, you've automated everything and you basically only do the important tasks that, your work demands. That's what I mean by automation psychopathy. This is achieved using scripts and a bunch of other stuff, right? Like we're basically using scripts to automate everything from, backing up stuff to switching this stuff, switching the themes and whatnot that I showed you. Well, if you just go back, just switching the themes and stuff like so. That is what we're using automation for. Okay, and then lastly, we have conclusive rationale. Now here, we have a cool one. Okay, we have a cool idea over here called anti-fragile modularity. Now, what is anti-fragility? Well, anti-fragility is basically an idea. It's a concept that was coined by this guy. He was an options trader, I believe. Yeah, an options trader and a risk analyst called Nassim Taleb. So you might know this guy, but Nassim Taleb, in his 2012 book named Anti-Fragility or something like that, Anti-Fragility, and then we have a couple of words after that, but basically it's the idea that any system, right, any, biological, economic, or any system in nature or the universe, basically, when exposed to stress and when exposed to huge amounts of volume and basically a lot of pressure and stress, it improves. So any system which, when exposed to a lot of stress, if it improves, we basically call it anti-fragile. It's the same idea as what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as proposed by Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche is this German philosopher, and he was an extremely smart dude. He was also the person who, coined the term, or not coined the term, but who came up with the quote, "He who has a why can bear almost anyhow." So yeah, little philosophy lesson for you there. Fun stuff. Okay, and in anti-fragile modularity, we cover how to make stuff modular, right? Here, we're basically dealing with modularity and, staying sane with managing all of our configs. So if I show you what I mean by this, if I just go over to .config/hyper and ls, you'll notice that we have a lot of stuff here. And in here, we have a modules folder. So in this modules folder, if I just list that out, we have a lot of different stuff. And not just, this doesn't just apply to this Hyprland config. This also applies to the waybar config along with the wlogout config and the hyperlog config, where we have made things modular and basically split it apart so we can deal with managing and maintaining it better. Okay, and then lastly, we have optimization principles. This should actually say optimization levers, right? This should actually say optimization levers. Okay. Now, in optimization levers, we do stuff like, for example, we go to the Hyprland wiki. There's a section in there which says that UWSM, right, Universal Whale and Session Manager, is the recommended way to start Hyprland. So it's basically just finding lots of tweaks like that, lots of little optimizations that we can do in order to streamline our experience of using Hyprland, and then basically just pulling on those levers so that we get the best, blazing fast and beautiful experience that we possibly can. And that is pretty much it. This is my 3-step framework of how I customize Hyprland to look, as amazing as it does over here and be blazing fast with these performance toggles. And by the way, if you want to know how to make, and adapt this kind of 3-step framework, exact 3-step framework for your system, just click the first link in the description. This is what it looks like, by the way. Okay, so we have all of the modules over here that we discussed in detail. The entire program is like 9 hours long, so you can tell that I left no stone unturned. I spent like 2 months on this, just locked away in a room, doing nothing else but working on this program so that you get the best program ever. So just click the first link in the description and check out the testimonials that other people have said about the program. They are definitely having fun, and not a single person, okay, not a single person has found any sort of, gripe with it. They all love it. All the people, all the 50, 100 people who are going to buy, right, are pretty much going to love this program, I'm sure. And you can be one of them. So just click the first link in the description and check it out. I will see you next time.